Apple's first foldable iPhone is shaping up to be one of the boldest devices the company has ever shipped. And according to a reliable leaker, Apple is already making some very deliberate trade-offs to get it right. The latest leak claims that Apple's foldable iPhone will be eSIM-only in every market, will ship without a telephoto camera, and will still include the controversial camera control button, all while being even thinner than the iPhone Air when unfolded. Here's a deep dive into everything that's been revealed so far. Apple's first foldable iPhone, ultra-thin, but still with camera control. According to the leaker known as Instant Digital, Apple has decided that its first foldable iPhone will feature a dedicated camera control button, despite the fact that the device is expected to be at least 1.1 mm thinner than the iPhone Air when it's fully unfolded. For a foldable, that's extremely aggressive engineering. Ultra-thin designs usually mean every fraction of a millimeter of internal space is precious, and extra physical controls are often the first thing manufacturers remove. Apple, however, is reportedly doing the opposite. It's keeping this extra button and making trade-offs inside the chassis to make it fit. Why would Apple insist on camera control on a foldable? The reasoning, according to the leak, is ergonomic. Apple has studied competing foldable phones and believes they can feel awkward to use as cameras, especially when unfolded. Their larger size makes it harder to adjust settings or capture photos one-handed without feeling like you might drop the device. The camera control button is Apple's answer to that problem. By adding a dedicated hardware control, the company wants users to maintain a secure, comfortable grip on the foldable iPhone, make quick adjustments without shifting hand position, take photos and videos more easily with one hand, even when the screen is fully opened. In other words, camera control is being treated as a core part of the foldable iPhone's usability, not a throwaway extra. Apple is so committed to this idea that, according to Instant Digital, the company firmly decided to prioritize the camera control button, even though it complicates internal component stacking and packaging in an already incredibly thin device. Mixed reactions on flat iPhones, but a different story on a foldable on. Standard flat-screen iPhones, the camera control button has reportedly received a mixed reaction from users. Some see it as useful. Others treat it more as a gimmick or an easily ignored addition. Apple's internal thinking, according to this leak, is that the foldable form factor changes the equation completely. What feels optional on a compact flat phone could become essential on a large tablet-style foldable device. When the screen area grows and the device gets more unwieldy to hold like a traditional phone, a dedicated camera button becomes significantly more valuable. That's why the company is willing to sacrifice precious internal component stacking space to make sure the very first generation of its foldable iPhones launches with camera control built in. Camera system. No telephoto at launch. Despite all this effort on camera control and ergonomics, the first foldable iPhone is not expected to debut with a top-tier camera array, at least not by current flagship standards. According to the same leak, Apple's initial foldable model will not feature a telephoto camera launch with only wide and ultra-wide cameras on the rear, similar to the rumored setup of the iPhone 17. That's a noticeable difference from many rival foldable flagships. High-end models like Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold 7 are expected to ship with 3 rear cameras, including a dedicated telephoto lens for optical zoom. Apple, for its first foldable generation, appears to be prioritizing thinness, structural design, and ergonomics over maxed-out camera hardware. Interestingly, Instant Digital also claims that Apple's U.S. imaging team recently traveled to Shenzhen, China, to test foldable smartphones from competitors such as Huawei. They reportedly paid particular attention to telephoto zoom performance on those devices. The implication is clear. Apple is studying what rivals are doing in the foldable camera space, but still willing to hold back on a telephoto lens in generation, one in order to keep the device ultra-thin and structurally sound. Future foldable models may well add telephoto hardware once Apple is satisfied with the engineering trade-offs. A SIM-only foldable iPhone, no physical SIM tray anywhere. One of the most significant shifts mentioned in the leak is connectivity. Instant Digital says they have seen no evidence in the supply chain of tooling or stock for SIM card tray modules for the foldable iPhone. Their conclusion: Apple's first foldable iPhone will be eSIM-only, globally. That means no physical SIM tray at all. Activation and carrier switching will happen entirely through eSIM. The foldable iPhone will follow the same approach as the iPhone. Air, which also relies solely on eSIM, this is a major move because Apple usually transitions markets gradually. In the US, Apple has already gone eSIM only on some models, but many other regions still rely heavily on physical SIM cards and dual SIM setups. Launching a premium, first-generation foldable as eSIM only from day one signals how strongly Apple believes in a SIM tray-free future. SIM configuration changes for iPhone 18 Pro in China and Hong Kong. The leak doesn't just stop at the foldable. It also includes some significant details about how Apple plans to handle SIM configurations on the iPhone 18 Pro lineup in certain markets. For mainland China, current models offer dual physical SIM slots. With the iPhone 18 Pro series, Apple is reportedly moving to a single SIM plus eSIM setup that means one physical SIM slot plus eSIM support, dropping the dual physical SIM configuration currently used in the region for Hong Kong. The regional version is said to adopt the same single SIM plus eSIM configuration. However, it will still retain a physical SIM slot, offering a blend of legacy compatibility and future-facing eSIM capability taken together. These changes, along with the fully eSIM-only foldable iPhone, show Apple steadily pushing its entire high-end lineup toward an eSIM-centric model, even in markets that have traditionally relied on multiple physical SIM cards. Foldable iPhone production target and price range. Another important part of the leak concerns how big Apple expects this product to be in its first year and where it might sit in terms of pricing. Instant digital estimates. First-year production at around 10 million units, pricing somewhere between 15,000 and 20,000 RMB, which roughly translates to about $2,060 to $2,550 USD. This positions the foldable iPhone squarely in the ultra-premium segment, priced above even Apple's most expensive traditional iPhones and competing directly with the highest-end foldables on the market. The conservative 10 million unit production target suggests Apple is treating the first foldable iPhone as a halo product, aspirational, expensive, and initially aimed at early adopters and power users rather than the mass market. Expected foldable iPhone specs, displays, chip, and security. Beyond design philosophy and pricing, the leak also touches on the expected core specs of Apple's first foldable iPhone. According to the latest information, the device is expected to feature a 7.8-inch inner display when unfolded, giving it a tablet-like experience for multitasking, media, and productivity, a 5.5-inch outer display when folded, sized more like a compact iPhone for quick interactions, and one-handed use Touch ID instead of, or potentially in addition to, Face ID, likely integrated into the power button or another external area to work better with multiple orientations and folded states, the A20 chip, which would be Apple's next-generation high-performance processor at the time of launch, AC2 modem, suggesting a next-gen cellular modem for better 5G performance and efficiency. These specs underline Apple's intent to make the foldable iPhone feel like a true flagship, not a tech demo. While the camera system may be simpler than some rivals, no telephoto, the displays, chipset, and connectivity are clearly positioned at the very top of Apple's roadmap for that year.